Today, we are going to talk about American Petroleum Institute, also known as API, and how it contributes to the categorization of different types of petroleum crude oil. Back in the days, the traditional method of measuring the specific gravity of liquids is by using what is known as the Baum scale. However, several issues affecting the data obtained as well as strict operating conditions limits the functionality of measuring specific gravity of liquids. Furthermore, the erroneous data has somewhat integrated into some of the major aspects of the industry of that time. To resolve this, API gravity is introduced as to standardize the method of measuring liquid density. Basically, API gravity is a modification of the scale modulus used in Baum scale, focusing on rewriting the entire calculation to accommodate the erroneous data without actually affecting the qualities of the result. So now, let's take a look at the equation for API gravity. This is the formula of API gravity. From the equation, we can assume that the API of a liquid involves the comparison to the density of water governed by the unit specific gravity. So what is the significance of API? Based on the equation, we can see that low density of liquid can produce a relatively low specific gravity. This in turn results in a large API value, which means that higher API value indicates liquid of lower density than water. Conversely, low API value indicates liquid of density higher than water, concluding that this is inversely proportionate between API and density of an unknown liquid. An example of the relationship is shown in the graph. From the example, we can see that specific gravity of a liquid affects the API of the sample and how API can be used to contribute to the different characteristics of different crude oils. Let's talk about how API is used to categorize crude oils. Crude oils are commonly split into four groups, namely very light crude oil, light crude oil, medium crude oil, and heavy crude oil. Each of the category is separated by the API value denoted by the unit degree API. Very light crude oil. The API value of this type of crude oil is usually more than 31.1 degree API. In reality, these oils are relatively safe since they have low viscosity leading to high evaporation rate, eliminating the toxicity of the sample. The clear appearance of the liquid shows that it is free from residues and heavier crude oil components. Light crude oil. The API of this type of crude oil typically falls in between 23 degree API to 32 degree API. Further evaporation of the sample may lead to heavy crude oil residues. Medium crude oil. Medium crude oil has higher viscosity with lower volatility and is the most common type of crude oil obtained. The API of these oils are lower than 23 degree API, with the impact of medium crude oil onto the environment is quite significant and is often an issue during cleanup operations as they are sticky and very hard to remove from surfaces. Heavy crude oil. API of this type of crude oil is the lowest, at range of below 10 degree API, showing that specific gravity of these liquids are more than 1. These crude oils is the least volatile and has a very viscous appearance. As they are not easily to evaporate off, they are the most toxic of all crude oils. One side product that can be extracted is bitumen, whereby it is the residue when most of the liquid are evaporated, which we call extra heavy oil. It is important to categorize crude oil according to API, as the price of crude oils depends on their API value. Crude oil with higher API are usually more expensive than that of lower API, as amount of clean crude oil obtained is more. Hence, the value of a crude oil can be estimated through this equation, which is defined by barrels of crude oil per metric ton. The equation shows how much crude oil can be obtained based on the API value of a known sample of raw crude oil, ultimately defining the market value of such specimens. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoy and learn something from this video. Bye.